Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens Part 230 based on novel. So let's start. The mouth on the human face that was formed by the nihility devouring flame emitted a somewhat miserable sharp cry after being ruthlessly bitten by little Yi. The face began to furiously struggle. Black flames continued to erupt from the face's body. They wildly swept toward little Yi. Yi. Little Yi ignored the retaliation of the nihility devouring flame. The pink-colored flame on his body agglomerated into a crystal-like armor. Regardless of how the devouring flame emitted its devouring power, it was unable to forcefully extract the energy within little Yi's body. Bang bang. While blocking the devouring power from the nihility devouring flame, little Yi's tightly clenched fist continued to smash the human face and widen his mouth. Each time he swung his fist, clusters of pink flames would invade the face. The black flames had gradually become a little scattered. Bastard, you actually dare to injure me. The collapsed feeling that was being emitted from the human face made it appear somewhat frightening. It was only a seed flame of the nihility devouring flame, while little Yi was a fire spirit formed from the merger of 6 types of heavenly flames, including the purifying demonic lotus flame. Forget about a mere flame seed. Even if its actual form were to appear, it would not be easy to defeat Xiao Yan. Yi. The current little Yi's intelligence seemed to be increasing. Not only could he understand the human language, even the emotions on his small face were becoming more lifelike. Hence, a ferocity surged onto his small face after he heard the nihility devouring flame's cry. His hand grabbed the huge human face as a monstrous pink flame surged out of his palm. This flame actually wrapped around the nihility devouring flame. You dare to refine me? You are seeking death. The actions of little Yi caused a horror to rise onto that human face. Its mouth cried out in a stern voice. The nihility devouring flame had never met anything that could resist its devouring power during all these years, but its mysterious ability, which it was proud of, was completely useless this time around. This is bad, I have lost connection with the fire seed. The chief of the Hall of Souls, who was standing a short distance away, suddenly revealed a different expression. At this moment, the connection between him and the nihility devouring flame's flame seed had been severed. The heavenly flame within this brat's body had undergone a mutation. It is unafraid of the nihility devouring flame's devouring power. I have really miscalculated this time around. The eyes of the chief of the Hall of Souls rapidly flickered. He immediately clenched his teeth, and his body rushed toward the pink fire barrier in the sky. Although this was only a seed flame, it was something that he had spent a long time begging for from the clan. If he slowly refined it, his body would also end up possessing a devouring power. Although this devouring power could not be compared with the nihility devouring flame, it could be considered a killing blow when fighting with others. Moreover, he would have difficulty accounting to the clan if he lost it. Hence, he could not allow any accidents to happen to it. Hall Chief, other people should not intervene in the fight between heavenly flames. However, the chief of the Hall of Souls had only just moved when a figure appeared in front of him like a shadow. That smiling figure belonged to Xiao Yan, who had been watching the chief. The expression of the chief of the Hall of Souls turned cold when he saw Xiao Yan intervene and block him. He wasn't bothered by his diminished Do Chi after it had been devoured by the nihility devouring flame earlier. His body moved and unleashed his sharpest, most ferocious attack on Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan merely smiled because of this wild and violent attack from the chief of the Hall of Souls. He could clearly sense that the current chief of the Hall of Souls was much weaker when compared to earlier. From the looks of it, the nihility devouring flame had swallowed a lot of his Do Chi earlier. The chief of the Hall of Souls was naturally no longer able to pose much of a threat to Xiao Yan in this state. The both of them once again unleashed fierce attacks while little Yi in the sky widened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of pink flames. These flames were poured into the flame cluster in front of him. That nihility devouring flame, which was only able to barely block the pressure from the surrounding flames, was finally unable to endure the pressure at this moment. A miserable screech was let out. The black flames that had formed a human face exploded apart. They transformed into black fire snakes that randomly entered and exited the pink fire cluster like headless houseflies. This is bad. The explosion of the nihility devouring flame caused the expressions on the faces of Hun Chien Mo and Old Man Hun Mo to drastically change. Both of them exchanged glances and simultaneously rushed forward. They were planning on intervening to rescue the nihility devouring flame. Humph, are you planning to break the rules? The expressions of Yao Lao's group turned slightly cold upon seeing them move. Both Xiao Chen and the ancestor from the Pill Tower swiftly rushed forward and blocked Hun Chien Mo duo. At the same time, the remaining Dosheng class experts from the Sky Mansion Alliance moved and restrained the few elite Doshengs from the Hall of Souls. In an instant, the fallen mountain had become extremely tense. A complete chaotic battle would erupt at the first sign of a disagreement. Hun Chien Mo, my Sky Mansion Alliance is not the least bit afraid of you if the Hall of Souls wishes for an all-out war. Yao Lao cried out in a stern voice. Hun Chien Mo narrowed his eyes. He slowly swept his eyes around him. The lineup from both parties was about the same. If they were to really fight, the Hall of Souls would definitely end up with a miserable victory if they even could win. Such a lose was something that the Hun clan was trying its best to avoid. What should we do? A cold glint surged within the eyes of Old Man Hun Mo as he softly asked. Hun Chien Mo stared intently at the young green-clothed man in front of him. The young man maintained a calm expression. His tender eyes were like a quiet lake, peering unfathomable. Hun Chien Mo had exchanged blows with the young man earlier and naturally understood just how frightening this old demon, who had lived for thousands of years, was. He knew that it would be difficult to defeat the other party even if he unleashed his entire strength. Everything will continue as it is. Hun Chien Mo inhaled a deep breath of air before stating in a low and deep voice. Both parties relaxed slightly after hearing his words. They immediately pulled back some distance. That extremely tense atmosphere was forcefully suppressed. Bang! Little Yi's huge baby hand slammed into the fire cluster when both parties pulled back. That cluster of flames began to wildly rotate before transforming into a firestorm that completely shattered the black flame fire snakes. Finally, he opened his mouth and swallowed the firestorm into his stomach. Although the devouring power was a mysterious energy that only the nihility devouring flame possessed, the heavenly flames were just like wild beasts. The strong devoured the weak. Due to them coming from a similar origin, the more powerful flame frequently consumed the weaker flame. When Xiao Yan had wanted to obtain the falling heart flame in the past, the flame had coveted the green lotus core flame within Xiao Yan's body. The nihility devouring flame was ranked second on the heavenly flame ranking. If one were to talk about it, it should be a little stronger than the purifying demonic lotus flame. However, this current devouring flame was merely a seed flame. It was extremely easy for Little Yi to consume it. Little Yi emitted a strange sound from his throat after devouring the seed flame. He immediately patted his stomach in an expression of satisfaction. His body swayed and returned to the size of a lotus. After which, his gaze shifted to Xiao Yan, who was battling the chief of the Hall of Souls. Only then did it drift to a spot some distance away from the battleground in front of many pairs of eyes. He beckoned with his hand and many slowly rotating fire lotuses began to quietly roll around his body. The chief of the Hall of Souls, who was entangled with Xiao Yang, caught a glimpse of these lotuses through his peripheral vision. His heart was so shocked that it trembled. Before he could pull back, Little Yi's fleshy hand pointed him out. "EWA, beat." Little Yi's voice had just appeared when over 10 fire lotuses formed a line that swiftly shot through the sky and wildly exploded on the chief of the Hall of Souls. Rumble. The 10 fire lotuses continuously exploded in the sky. A terrifying fire wave swept apart with a frighteningly high temperature. Those experts, who had originally withdrawn a great distance, once again hurriedly pulled back. Humph! The 10 fire lotuses might have only been formed by 2 different heavenly flames, but they had stirred a domino effect after the first one exploded. Their might was so strong that it was frightening. Even someone as strong as the chief of the Hall of Souls was blasted until he emitted a muffled moan. A green smoke was miserably formed around his body as he hurriedly pulled back in the sky. The figure floating in the sky pulled back by 10,000 feet. That figure, the chief of the Hall of Souls, finally forcefully stabilized his body. He swallowed the fresh blood that reached his throat. Some shock appeared within his eyes. He had not expected this unassuming fire baby to actually possess such a powerful fighting strength. Hall of Souls chief, you will perhaps lose this match. The moment the chief of the Hall of Souls was feeling shocked by Little E's powerful fighting strength, a ghost-like figure suddenly appeared behind him. A sharp wind mercilessly struck his neck. In your dreams. The attack came swiftly, but the chief of the Hall of Souls also reacted quickly. He instinctively turned his body and a punch clashed with Xiao Yan's palm wind. A deep sound exploded at the point of contact. The bodies of the two were sent flying backwards. You are still a little lacking if you wish to kill this chief. The eyes of the chief of the Hall of Souls were gloomy as he glared at Xiao Yan while he flew backwards. He cried out in a dense voice, "Consider yourself lucky this time around. This chief will personally take revenge the next time around. Perhaps you will not have the opportunity." A chill surged within Xiao Yan's eyes and an icy-cold smile rose from the corner of his mouth. The chief of the Hall of Souls' heart became slightly cold after seeing Xiao Yan's expression. He seemed to have sensed something as he suddenly turned his head. A high temperature pounced over. Another 10 fire lotuses formed a straight line in front of his eyes as they rushed over with lightning-like speed. They violently collided with his body in front of the many shocked eyes from the people all over the mountains. How is this possible? The heart of the chief of the Hall of Souls was shocked because of the frighteningly wild energy that was on a collision course with his body. An enormous firestorm swept across the sky. Its terrifying temperature caused the originally moist land to dry and even began to crack apart. Other than some elite Doshengs, no one else dared to step within 10,000 feet from the fallen peak. The chief of the Hall of Souls has actually been defeated. The entire mountain range became completely silent as they watched this firestorm sweep through the sky. After being struck head-on by such a ferocious attack, even if the chief of the Hall of Souls could retain his life, he would not be in a good state. It was likely that the victor had been decided. A grave expression surged in the eyes of many people after experiencing this thought. The chief of the Hall of Souls had been a renowned peak expert within the Central Plains for a long time. His fierce reputation had caused many factions to tremble upon hearing his name, establishing the Hall of Souls as the overlord of the region. Now, however, this expert, who had once stirred a bloody storm across the Central Plains, had been defeated by the hands of an up-and-coming member of the younger generation. After this battle, the name of both Xiao Yan and the Sky Mansion Alliance would undoubtedly become extremely dazzling across the Central Plains. This lad is extraordinary. The position of the overlord of the Central Plains will likely change. The Grand Elders and experts of some factions felt such a thought flash through their hearts. They looked at a certain figure in the sky and an additional solemnness and respect was present in their eyes. The strong were forever honored in this world. The many experts from the Sky Mansion Alliance on the fallen mountain revealed joy on their faces at this moment. Their eyes were filled with pride as they stared at the skinny figure in the sky. The reason Xiao Yan was able to possess such a great reputation within the Sky Mansion Alliance was because of the many battles he had experienced. After this battle today, his status as the spiritual leader of the Sky Mansion Alliance was sealed. If the result of the battle today were to be transmitted back to the Sky Mansion, there was no telling what kind of a commotion it would stir. Everyone understood the meaning of this battle. From today on, if one were to rank the factions of the Central Plains, this one mansion would be ranked above the one hall. In the future, the overlord of the Central Plains would be the Sky Mansion Alliance. Compared to the joy on the Sky Mansion side, the Hall of Souls was completely silent. Those experts faced each other. They were all a little absent-minded. Not long ago, the mighty reputation of the Hall of Souls still existed within the Central Plains. Any expert who heard this name would reveal a face covered with fear and horror, yet within these short few years, the overlord, who possessed a reputation that had once caused one's expression to change, had tasted the bitterness of defeat for the first time. I want to see how you will explain this to the clan. Old man Hun Mo revealed a volatile expression. Those surrounding gazes were extremely irritating. He swung his sleeve and furiously cried out. The one who laughs last is the true victor. If we did not even possess patience, our Han clan would have long since disappeared from this world. Han Qianmo's expression might appear a little sinister, but he still remained indifferent. He coldly glanced at Old Man Han Mo and chided him. Old Man Han Mo's mouth opened upon hearing this scolding. However, he quickly shut his mouth. His face was filled with the dissatisfaction he felt. Han Qianmo's eyes were dark and cold. The shriveled fist under his sleeve was tightly clenched. You can all rejoice. Once my Han clan's plans begin, the Sky Mansion Alliance will be completely annihilated with a flick of his finger. A countless number of people below had various thoughts lingering in their hearts. The firestorm in the sky slowly scattered. A charred black figure shot out from the storm. That completely black figure was covered with many ferocious-looking wounds. It was even vaguely possible to see some pulsing inner organs. His aura was so weak that it was almost impossible to detect. Clearly, he had suffered an extremely serious injury. Chief of the Hall of Souls. Everyone felt their hearts tense upon seeing the figure. This miserable appearance was naturally the Chief of the Hall of Souls, who had been ruthlessly struck. From his appearance, it was obvious that he no longer had any ability to fight. At this moment, some of the experts from the Hall of Souls, who had been holding out for a miracle, felt completely hopeless. Xiao Yan, this chief will not forget this grudge. The Chief of the Hall of Souls slowly landed on the ground in a weak manner. However, he struggled to open both of his blurry eyes. A hoarse and weak voice was slowly emitted before being transmitted into Xiao Yan's ear. From the sky, Xiao Yan's indifferent eyes stared at the Chief of the Hall of Souls, who had suddenly landed. A cold glint flashed within his eyes. One should get rid of a problem at its roots. This Chief of the Hall of Souls might be seriously injured but with the skills of the Han clan, he would probably be lively again after resting for a couple of months. At that time, he might be able to command the Hall of Souls into causing some trouble. This was something that Xiao Yan did not like to see. Since you have been defeated, you should leave your life behind. A murderous intent surged within Xiao Yan's heart. He moved and descended toward the Chief of the Hall of Souls with lightning-like speed in front of many pairs of eyes. From his surging murderous intent, it was obvious that he was intending to deliver a final blow while his opponent was down. Xiao Yan, how dare you? This sudden unexpected change also startled the members from the Hall of Souls. They did not expect Xiao Yan to be this ruthless. Not only had he won, he was also planning to kill. Humph, you should repay some of the blood debt you owe to my Xiao clan. Xiao Yan completely ignored those cries. His body flashed and appeared above the head of the Chief of the Hall of Souls. His palm furiously slammed toward the top of the chief's head. From the looks of his sharp palm wind, the chief's head would definitely split like a watermelon if struck. The eyes of the seriously injured Chief of the Hall of Souls, who was paralyzed, revealed a horror in the face of death after seeing the palm wind falling from above his head. Xiao Yan, you are seeking death. A furious thunder-like cry suddenly rumbled beside Xiao Yan's ear just as his palm was about to strike the Hall of Souls chief's head. The space around Xiao Yan's body became distorted. Han Qianmo appeared with a gloomy expression. His shriveled fist was clenched as it smashed toward Xiao Yan with lightning-like speed. From the looks of it, he was intending to force Xiao Yan to stop his attack. Humph! A cold glint flashed across Xiao Yan as Han Qianmo attacked. His palm wind did not weaken. A thought passed through his mind and Little Yi appeared on his shoulder. Little Yi waved his small hand and many fire lotuses quickly flew forward. After which, they collided with Han Qianmo's hand. Bang bang! A hot fire wave swiftly spread from the explosion. However, that shriveled fist penetrated the fire wave and smashed into Xiao Yan's chest with lightning-like speed. Xiao Yan spat out a mouthful of fresh blood after suffering a serious injury. Han Qianmo's punch contained the desire to kill. Fortunately, there were some fire lotuses obstructed it. Hence, it was not fatal despite injuring Xiao Yan. Moreover, Xiao Yan's palm had still managed to ruthlessly smash into the head of the Chief of the Hall of Souls when Han Qianmo's punch landed on his body. Bang! Xiao Yan's palm contained an extremely great strength. Hence, the Chief of the Hall of Souls' head was blasted into a bloody mist. Additionally, the lingering force wildly roamed around his body and blasted it into a complete mess. Xiao Yan did not continue to observe the body after managing to strike his target. He swallowed the blood in his mouth and quickly withdrew. Bastard! Xiao Yan's body had just pulled back when Han Qianmo discovered that the Chief of the Hall of Souls' body had been blasted into a complete mess. His eyes turned crimson. A roar that was filled with murderous intent reverberated around the sky. He lifted his head and glared at Xiao Yan. His hand grabbed across the distance and the space where Xiao Yan was flying collapsed, sealing Xiao Yan in the process. Die? Han Qianmo's body flashed after sealing the space around Xiao Yan. His face was filled with a ferocity as he appeared in front of Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's eyes were sinister as they stared at the ferocious Han Qianmo. A thought passed through his heart and the extermination fire lotus began to gather in his palm under his sleeve. Han Qianmo, deaths and injuries are unavoidable during a battle. You should not break the rules. The green-cloaked figure slowly appeared in front of Xiao Yan just as Xiao Yan was about to unleash the extermination fire lotus on this old demon. A calm voice followed. It was the ancestor from the Pill Tower. Old ghost, are you really planning to completely oppose my Han clan? Han Qianmo's eyes were dense as he stared at the ancestor from the Pill Tower before uttering each word with a pause. Han Qianmo, it is pointless to threaten me. The ancestor from the Pill Tower merely smiled before giving a reply after hearing Han Qianmo's threat. Han Qianmo's shriveled face twitched. He was aware that it was impossible for him to kill Xiao Yan today with the ancestor from the Pill Tower obstructing him. His eyes gloomily glanced at Xiao Yan. His hoarse voice was filled with a murderous desire. Xiao Yan, it is not easy to kill a member of my Han clan. Your fate will definitely be 100 times more miserable than Xiao Xian in the future. Thank you for informing me. Xiao Yan coldly laughed. It was not the first time he had heard such words from a member of the Han clan. HMPH, the next time we battle, your Sky Mansion alliance will be exterminated. Han Qianmo swung his sleeves. He gave a dense cold smile before turning around and rushing back to the Chief of the Hall of Souls' exploded body. A black fog surged from his hand, and he absorbed the shattered soul of the chief into the fog. After which, he landed on the ground with a dark and solemn expression. He did not speak. Instead, his body moved and he rushed out of the fallen mountain range. Those experts from the Hall of Souls could only follow behind him in a dejected manner. Unfortunately, I was unable to completely incinerate the Chief of the Hall of Souls' soul. Xiao Yan grinned as the members of the Hall of Souls left. He felt somewhat regretful. That old fellow had managed to collect the remains of the soul of the Chief of the Hall of Souls. Given the abilities of the Han clan, it might be possible to revive him. You are too greedy. The Han clan is not as easy to deal with as you imagine. The ancestor of the Pill Tower turned around. He stared at Xiao Yan before he shook his head and softly laughed. I never believed that anyone would be able to deal with the Hall of Souls in the past. However, I am beginning to believe it slightly at this moment. This descendant of the Xiao clan might really be able to achieve the ambition that Xiao Xian was unable to complete back then. The fallen mountain battle, which had shook the entire Central Plains, had finally come to an end with the defeat of the Chief of the Hall of Souls, leaving many feeling that they had not watched their fill. The final result had somewhat exceeded many people's expectations. The Hall of Souls, a faction that had stood as the overlord of the Central Plains for hundreds of years, had finally met a powerful faction that could keep them in check after having acted fearless and overbearing for such a long time. The Sky Mansion Alliance, an alliance made up of a couple of large factions, which had not been given high regards by those from the older generations, had begun to rise at a shocking speed after a couple of years of integration. Moreover, the number of experts gathered in the alliance had also caused some of the old factions to feel ashamed. A Doshan class expert was an ancestor that guarded the sect, but this Sky Mansion alliance had a total of 10 of them. This number had caused everyone to understand that the Sky Mansion alliance had not simply relied on luck to survive until this day. This became very apparent when these elite Doshengs were led by an expert who had defeated a 5-star Dosheng, the chief of the Hall of Souls. That shock was unmatchable. After this battle, everyone understood that the reputation of the Sky Mansion Alliance would spread to every corner of the Central Plains. That grand battle would undoubtedly be spread by an uncountable number of people in a respectful fashion. The transfer of the position of Overlord shook the Central Plains. The result of the Fallen Mountain battle had stirred an earth-shaking level of shock and joy after being transmitted back to the Sky Mansion Alliance. During this half a month's time, the entire alliance had descended into a wild joy. From this moment forth, the Sky Mansion Alliance would possess an unmatchable reputation within the Central Plains. All the members of the alliance, including the outermost members, would be able to stick their chests out with great pride when interacting with others because the uniform on their chests displayed a badge that told everyone that they belonged to the alliance. The glory of the alliance was also their glory. While the entire Sky Mansion Alliance had descended into a wild joy, no one forgot the person who had brought them this victory. That earth-shaking battle was repeated from individual to individual and was regarded as the most outstanding battle among outstanding battles. Xiao Yan was being described as a divine being. These rumors caused Xiao Yan to involuntarily break into a stunned smile. However, these rumors had caused many members of the Sky Mansion Alliance to treat him like a divine being whom they could not offend. This was a blind respect. It was the faith of a believer. After one's reputation had accumulated to a certain extent, it would quietly rise in one's heart. The respect these alliance members felt for Xiao Yan was rising with a fervor. Yao Lao and the others were a little surprised at this situation, but they did not hinder this respect because such faith would increase their cohesion. Moreover, the only person in the Sky Mansion Alliance who had the ability to instill such faith was Xiao Yan. The wild joy within the alliance continued for half a month before it gradually calmed down. Although the excitement of the ordinary members was a little crazy, the upper echelons of the alliance continued to remain calm. This narrow victory against the Hall of Souls gained the alliance an immeasurable amount of benefits. However, being in this peak spot would also mean that they would face open hostility and hidden schemes. In the past, the Hall of Souls was extremely powerful. Under the deterrence of its ferocity, no one dared to act against it. However, the Sky Mansion Alliance had risen a little too quickly. It had only been established for a very short period of time. Some of the old factions within the Central Plains plotted against it with ill intent. After all, the Sky Mansion Alliance and the Hall of Souls were fundamentally different. The Hall of Souls was extremely ruthless in everything they did. They completely ignored all other factions. If they had not possessed the secret support of the Hun clan, resistance would have already formed given their actions. Now, the Sky Mansion Alliance had leaped ahead and become the new overlord. Naturally, it would not be able to adopt the same approach as the Hall of Souls. After all, they were not backed by an existence like the Hun clan. Hence, soon after the big battle came to an end, the upper echelons issued orders to strictly prohibit any members from acting arrogant and overbearing toward others. All their actions should remain as usual. Those who disobeyed would be expelled from the alliance. Under the suppression of this harsh punishment, the Sky Mansion Alliance appeared extremely calm from the perspective of others after obtaining a great victory. Hardly any matters that could damage the alliance spread, causing many people to quietly nod. They held the alliance in higher regard. Although the Sky Mansion Alliance had surpassed the Hall of Souls, the Hall of Souls was still in existence. Moreover, it did not suffer a great loss. They were looking at the alliance with ill intent and waiting for it to make a mistake before attacking again. While the Sky Mansion Alliance was steadily rising, an increasing number of factions across the Central Plains who hated the Hall of Souls began to join. These people had been afraid of the Hall of Souls in the past. Hence, they chose to endure their hatred. Now that this Sky Mansion Alliance had appeared out of nowhere and had surpassed the Hall of Souls, it was only natural for these people to swarm over and join them. The alliance did not simply randomly absorb this huge number of members. They adopted a strict and complicated selection process before accepting them as outer alliance members. An exception was made only to those who were extremely strong and could be trusted, allowing them to be absorbed into the inner alliance. This orderly absorption caused the strength of the huge Sky Mansion alliance to quietly soar once again. A stream wandered through the forest within the deepest part of the star realm. It soon transformed into a silver waterfall that quickly fell down, landing in a clear lake below. A human figure was seated on the surface of the water at the middle of the lake. He did not move. The ripples that fluctuated and spread across the water automatically disappeared when they were 10 meters away from him, like there was an extremely quiet aura around him that was giving him a strange appearance. This silence continued for around half a day before the human figure finally opened his tightly shut eyes. A faint fire glow flashed across his dark black eyes. He lowered his head. He frowned as he glanced at his palm. There was a black bead suspended half an inch above his palm. The color of the bead was an extremely deep black. At a glance, it appeared just like a small black hole. It even felt like it was trying to pull one's soul into it. The human figure was naturally Xiao Yan. 3 months had passed since the battle at the Fallen Mountain. During these 3 months, the Sky Mansion Alliance seemed to have undergone a complete transformation. Repeated and drastic changes continued to occur, but Xiao Yan did not intervene in these matters. He was not really good when it came to managing the faction. Forcing himself to get involved would only lead to more losses than gains. Yao Lao was also clearly aware of this point. Hence, he allowed Xiao Yang to train alone and did not disturb him. Xiao Yang spent all of his free time in training. Xiao Xiao got along very well with the little fairy doctor and Qing Lin. Hence, she did not really stick beside Xiao Yang. Moreover, there was also the old-fashioned and strict Xiao Chen constantly monitoring her training, so he ended up with the most free time after the big battle. These 3 months of training did increase Xiao Yang's strength. Currently, he had stabilized as an initial 5-star Dosheng. Even though the flame mantra had already evolved into a quasi-Qian class Qi method, the 3 months of energy absorption was merely a drop in an ocean for Xiao Yang. Only at this moment did he discover just how difficult it was to raise one's strength in the Dosheng class unless there were some special circumstances. Although these 3 months of training did not allow Xiao Yang to increase his level, he still managed to make an exceptional gain. This gain came from when Little Yi had swallowed the Nihility Devouring Flame's flame seed. The Nihility Devouring Flame was said to be able to devour anything. It could even swallow energy and Do Qi and was incomparably overbearing. Its strange devouring power would cause one to feel envious. Moreover, the thing that caused one's heart to be truly attracted to it was that as long as one was able to refine a flame seed from the Nihility Devouring Flame, one would gain the chance of obtaining its ability. Although this ability was not comparable to the Nihility Devouring Flame, it was extremely useful for training. Hence, Xiao Yang had spent most of his time studying that devouring power. Xiao Yang's observations had not exceeded his expectations. A black-colored bead had gradually formed within Xiao Yang's body after Little Yi swallowed the Nihility Devouring Flame's flame seed, since both of them were heavenly flames. Xiao Yang could sense a devouring power, which could even swallow one's soul, within this bead. Xiao Yang rejoiced after having obtained this black bead, which contained that devouring power. If he could gain this devouring power, he would undoubtedly be able to train a lot more effectively, but his joy did not last for long before he discovered something terrible. If this bead was placed in his body, it would gradually swallow the Do Qi within his body. Moreover, Xiao Yang was even vaguely able to sense that his life force was also being absorbed along with his Do Qi. Xiao Yang had discovered that the energy absorbed by this devouring power was extremely impure, and the impurities within this energy agglomerated together because of the devouring power. It was extremely difficult to remove these impurities even when he used his heavenly flame. He was unable to absorb the energy that had been devoured. This damn thing. Xiao Yang's expression had become quite ugly after sensing this situation. This thing was not only useless, it was also harmful. From the looks of this devouring power, an ordinary person would really not be blessed to enjoy it. Xiao Yang shook his head in disappointment. He glanced at the black bead before flipping his hand. He was just about to store it in his storage ring when a pink flame escaped his hand. Little Yi appeared. His flabby hand wrapped around the bead as desire filled his little face. Huh? Xiao Yang was startled upon seeing Little Yi appear. This video will end here.